All right. Kobe. No, Kobe. I think I'll cut my grass in the morning. Anybody want to join me?
Mm-mm. 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
And welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody. South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes over at the Colonial Life Arena. USC women up on LSU with 4:06 to go in the half by a 20-16 count. Asia Wilson is putting on some display in her final regular season home game. 13 points, 12 rebounds in 14 minutes of play. She is going out in style in front of the hometown fans. We'll talk more about her and the USC men, the Clemson men in just a moment as we do a little bit of give and go here on Sports Talk.
They're playing basketball. We love that basketball. They're playing basketball. We love that basketball.
And it's good to have Aaron Lucas, the former USC standout, with us, along with former Clemson star Jordan Roper for this edition of Give and Go here on Sports Talk. So, Aaron, we'll start with you. Asia Wilson, you ever face up against her in a scrimmage over there at USC?
Never have, and I don't think I would want to either.
Think she'd post you up?
Absolutely.
Well, she's having a great game tonight, 13-12 so far, and they still got 3:15 to play in the first half. USC men last night put together another strong effort and got a W out of it. Can you see this effort continuing for the remainder of the regular season and as far as they can go in the SEC tournament?
Yes, and I think last week I briefly mentioned that, the guys are going to continue to give that effort and relax a little bit more, and I think you're starting to see that at this point in the season, that they're relaxing, they're just going out and playing and enjoying it. Of course, Coach Martin and his staff is still going to continue to coach hard, but I think the guys have finally figured some things out. I think they've gotten over that wall, that proverbial wall, and now they're just out here having fun. They're playing with the chemistry that we saw, in spurts throughout the year.
Interesting, Aaron. We've talked about this with you previously, the reliance on Chris Silva, and we've also said at other times that as Chris Silva goes, South Carolina goes. I would almost think that as South Carolina's point guards go, South Carolina goes. How do you feel about the fact that it seems like good point guard play is leading to this increased level of play for them?
Well, anytime you can get that the type of production that you're getting from Hassani Gravett and Wesley Myers at this point in the season is going to be a plus. And Coach Martin alluded to that in his post-game interview, just in regards to the perimeter guys being able to knock down shots, which makes it a little bit easier for Chris Silva to operate in the post. And I think now, at this point in the season, when you have guys knocking down shots and playing with that type of confidence, it makes it a little bit more difficult to scout and guard for opposing teams, because now they have to account for these other guys on the perimeter.
Give and Go with Aaron Lucas, Jordan Roper here on Sports Talk. Jordan, the Tigers go up to Castle last night. That's a tough place to play when Virginia Tech has got it going, and they've got it going just like Clemson has, and the Tigers suffer a third straight defeat. Short-handed last night, not getting much off the bench either. Have you heard anything more today on the status of Shelton Mitchell and his availability for this weekend, and what the Tigers need to do to get back on the winning way this weekend against Georgia Tech?
This 3-game skid was, just a tough thing to watch. I mean, with Shelton going down at Florida State, that's always a tough game. It's a well-coached team with a great ton of athletes and talent on their team every year, and then Duke coming in our place, and you'd think we'd have the advantage, but losing Shelton, I mean, not having a point guard going up against Duke, and then Coach K, he's going to exploit that weakness of not having a primary ball handler. So, but with them not having Bagley, we thought we'd still have a chance to compete within that game, and we did. But wasn't the outcome that we had hoped for. And then going up to Virginia Tech, that's always that's an extremely tough place to play. Mm-hmm. And again, like we talked about before on this show, I mean, Clemson is the hunted now as opposed to the hunter. So, Virginia Tech was, excited to play, ready to go. And again, another game without Sheldon Mitchell, a primary ball handler and decision maker. It's tough. I haven't heard anything on the status of Sheldon's injury. I know that it was a, pretty bad concussion. He didn't travel with the team to Virginia Tech, but the hopes is that he will, hopefully can do a little bit more in these coming practices and, maybe be a game time decision and be ready to go Saturday with Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
We knew Gabe DeVoe wouldn't really keep that hot hand as long. I mean, he was just stroking unconsciously, and now he's sort of come back to where we other humans are right now on the court. But I still feel that Clemson, yes, the three-pointer has been good to them, but love to see him get it more inside to Thomas, not only because I think when you get it into him and they double team him and he kicks it back out for a standstill three rather than a three off the dribble, and also keep him engaged in the game offensively and defensively, because we know big men like to be fed in the middle to really get engaged in a ball game, which in my opinion, just watching Clemson, he doesn't get enough touches.
Yeah, it's definitely, the game is definitely different in terms of, having a ball dominant post play in the ball. I mean, the game, college basketball is more dominated by the guards now. But I agree with you. You do need to get Elijah more touches. But, I mean, has the second straight game with a double-double. I mean, he's playing good basketball, but, I think teams understand that Elijah Thomas is one of our better players. So they scout to stop him. And referring to Gabe, I mean, he's a 100-man. He's ACC Player of the Week. So, it'd be insane to think that, Coach K and Buzz Williams were just going to let him run around and keep doing the same things that he was doing. Duke did a great job of always keeping, someone with him, even, on penetration. But yeah, again, I mean, it's hard to keep a streak like that going, but I agree with you. You do need to get the ball to Elijah, but again, it's difficult when knowing that, he's a marksman also.
Aaron, what have you seen in Coach Sarr this year? Really struggling in every aspect of the game offensively, missing shots around the rim, not really hitting his face-up jumper consistently. Did have 9 boards last night, but a 1 for 10 night from the floor. Is it just a confidence thing from where you sit with him?
Well, I mean, at this point in the season, it would be a confidence thing, but I think coaches did. He's done a few different things with Mike this year that I don't think he did last year. You see Mike on the perimeter a little bit more, in positions where he's attacking the basket off the dribble. So I think it was a minor adjustment, putting him in some different spots, giving him some different looks to try to be more versatile. So, he has to adjust. I think it was similar to, Mike Carrero in his senior year, and he had to make some adjustments playing more on the perimeter. But I think over time, Coach Sarr will figure it out and be able to impact the team.
Jordan, I know that Brad is lamenting his bench not getting enough production. In my mind, I don't think he's given them enough of a chance. Your thoughts on his comments there?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to be a young player, coming to the game and, expected not to make any mistakes and, get out there. And I mean, it's almost like having more pressure than being a starter. But yes, the bench definitely, they've recruited. They're good basketball players. They have to be more productive coming off the bench. And, that's just a confidence thing. I think as a young player, you need to have confidence and, play stress-free basketball, understand your role and embrace it. And, sometimes that's difficult, but I think the guys so far this year, they understand their role. They're excited about it. And, sometimes shots don't go in. But they have to keep that confidence and positive energy and just build back on the momentum that they've built all year.
Guys, I want to thank you very much for being with us tonight, and enjoy the weekend of basketball. The Gamecocks going on the road. The Tigers will be at Littlejohn against Georgia Tech. Let's see if both can pick up some W's here. When we reconvene next week, we'll have some positive stuff to talk about. We thank you both.
All right, appreciate you having me.
Thank you very much. Jordan Roper, Aaron Lucas, give and go here on Sports Talk. The Gamecocks are, they're not ready to throw the towel in on this season. They're thinking NIT and doing something there to give them some momentum going into next year. And, of course, Clemson trying to regain its footing in terms of the NCAA tournament situation.
They might want to try to make a run in St. Louis. Who knows?
Well, it could happen, but not likely.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Over at the USC, the USC women and LSU, they are at halftime. USC is up 28-23, shooting 39% from the floor, 0 for 5 from 3, 4 of 9 from the line. They've got 7 turnovers, not playing all that well except on the boards, up 7 there, and they have Asia Wilson getting it done in the first half, 13 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists for the senior playing in her last regular season home game for USC. So she's doing her thing. Her teammates are not helping. Nobody else has scored more than 4 points. So they're putting all the workload on Asia Wilson tonight, and she is up to the task so far. Let's do recruiting here on Sports Talk.
Diving in.
Yes.
Diving into the recruiting.
I think I should have some walk-up music. Oh, yeah, I do have my walk-up. Can I get my walk-up? I haven't had my walk-up music in a while.
No.
So we'll wait for the walk-up music to get organized here.
Why you always at the stall, man?
Because I like my walk-up music. I want to hear my walk-up music. Are we ready? May I have my walk-up music, please?
I said the King's in the building.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me how you feeling. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The King's in the building. Tell me how you feeling.
One more time, please.
Yeah. I said the King's in the building.
You have an argument with that?
Yes.
With that statement?
All the time.
No, I would like the King to say that his music would be played about 2 hours before we go on the air.
Sometimes these things just come into my head.
I understand
at the moment.
We have to
Spontaneity is the beautiful thing about live radio.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Defensive back Sheridan Jones of Virginia Beach originally was in the 2020 class. He reclassified to 2019, and schools jumped in on him, Clemson included. He visited there in January, impressed with the Tigers, who have done a lot of recruiting in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia in recent years. And so the Tigers are in the mix with him. He's a corner. He also has offers from Alabama, Ohio State, Tennessee, West Virginia, Penn State, and others. He went to Tennessee earlier this month, and he plans to put together a short list of favorites later in the spring or summer and take his official visits in the fall. Clemson went on a spending spree today with scholarships. Linebacker N'Kobe Dean of Horn Lake, Mississippi. Defensive end Byron Young of Laurel, Mississippi. Linebacker Spencer Lytle, Bellflower, California. Linebacker Brighton Constantine of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Defensive back Travis J. of Madison, Florida. Defensive back Shaheem Battle of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Defensive back Landon Zanders of Shelby, North Carolina. And defensive lineman Joshua Harris of North Carolina, from Roxborough, North Carolina, picking up an offer tonight from Clemson. Wide receiver Deshaun Studemeyer, Stone Mountain, Georgia, has USC in his top 90. Here are the top 90.
No, dude, don't. Oh, stop it. Stop it. I was already laughing about the guy from Roxborough. I'm wondering if he's the knight of the Roxborough, but that's over your head. It's
his
fine.
top 9
Stop.
include
No,
Michigan State, Iowa State, Tennessee, West Virginia, Ohio State, Nebraska, Louisville, and Auburn. He was at USC last weekend.
Love lists.
USC target quarterback Garrett Schrader of Charlotte was offered by Florida. 2021 defensive back Deshaun Boone of Virginia Beach plans to visit Clemson and USC this Saturday. Emerald tight end Luke Deal was offered by Southern Cal. This guy is getting big-time attention from everybody except USC and Clemson. I don't know the story on that. Maybe they think they're going to get on him a little bit later and have a chance to pull him in. And in basketball, USC's Frank Martin did not get out to Las Vegas last week to see 6'4" TJ Moss, as Moss's father had hoped he would. Martin did talk to Moss by phone. Moss is planning an official visit to Oregon State for weekend after next. He's also talking to Minnesota about a visit. His dad said he has 2 games left. The Gamecocks are trying to schedule a time to see him play if possible. If it doesn't happen in Vegas, he said they could scout him at the National Championship Tournament in New York. A visit to USC likely won't happen until after the season. All right, that is our look at recruiting here on Sports Talk for now. Be sure to check it out regularly on our website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter. Use the hashtag #STRecruiting. Speaking of Frank Martin, pretty good mood after last night's win.
Very good mood. South Carolina wins 66-57 over Georgia, largely due to 41 bench points and solid point guard play, per the head coach.
Luckily, we turned them over at the end of the first half there, and we're able to convert and then kind of go back-to-back threes coming into the locker room to give us a big enough cushion. But it is what it is. It's late February. You get a home win against a conference opponent. You take it and you run. Those three guys coming off the bench, Booker, Wesley, and Felipe, that's 3 first-year guys that it's happened now, at Tennessee, obviously the other day against Auburn and again today. They're giving us a spark coming off the bench. And that's why I've kind of stayed with the lineup the way it is, because I kind of like that. I like the what those guys give us coming off the bench. And, and Hassani's played better. Wes and Hassani have the reason we're playing better is real simple. Those two guys, plain and simple. There's no other way to explain it. Those two guys are playing a lot better. When your point guards play better, your team plays better.
You cut your turnovers down in each of the last 3 contests. I know that this might be a bit of an anomaly, only 5 turnovers, but how much of that was the focus and how much of that's due to the point guard play?
A little bit of both. Our point guards are more in tune with what we're asking them to do. And the other guys off the ball are a little bit better. Like we came out of the timeout and the under 4 media timeout. This is the stuff that we do that drives me nuts. And I told them in the timeout, I said, we run an action that we run just to get to the end of the clock. And I said, run it and get it to Wes on the left side of the floor. And at the end of the clock, run the 4 and the 5 man to set a kind of horns ball screen on the side. I said, I need the 5 man on the high side. Okay. I said, Wes, I don't care what you do. Throw it against the scoreboard, pitch it to the upper deck, shoot it. Do not turn it over. Felipe runs to the baseline side. Wes now takes the 5 ball screen and kills his dribble on the baseline and turns it over. That's the stuff that with this team that just drives me nuts at times. But when you only turn it over 5 times in an SEC game and you're aggressive, because we took 60 some odd shots, didn't we? 68 shots. You're starting to figure stuff out, starting to get guys to the right places. We got to convert more 2s. We missed too many 2s today.
I love that man. I really do. He's just so funny.
Well, maybe it's the power of suggestion. Maybe if he tells him to go over in the corner and turn it over, then he won't turn. Maybe the suggestion made him turn it over.
Was that too technical for you? A horns high-low ball screen with a 4 and the 5 man? Is that too technical for you?
I think I've got it.
Okay.
I think I understand it completely.
I just want to make sure, because you can't understand something like quadrant 1 wins. I just want to make sure that you're on the
No,
same
I
page
understand
with
quadrant 1 wins. It's just not something that
you just don't accept it.
Well, I accept it. It's just not something that I refer to on a regular basis. It's kind of all new to me. And I mean, I still go with the old-fashioned way of winning your last 10 games, who's playing well going into the tournament, what's your injury situation. I mean, what does it mean anyway? They're telling us every week their top 16 teams now. They're laying out for us the first 4 lines of the bracket, which I'm not crazy about that, because, I mean, that sort of takes away from Selection Sunday. I would rather of course, then again, when you look at the football selection committee, they're telling us weekly who their top teams are by putting out their rankings. So I guess it's sort of the same way. You know what it is? It's just another way to get you talking about it.
Yes.
And all this, the matrix. And the thing I don't get into is when I see on ESPN and a game is coming up at 8 o'clock. And no, I'd like to complete my thoughts.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, I'm just going to sit here quietly into the break and you finish my thought for me.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Finish my thought. You are obviously.
What do you hate? Tell me.
In my brain, you can finish my thought for me.
Tell me what you hate. Go ahead. Tell me what you hate.
We're going to hit a break here and we'll be back.
Wow.
We are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have us here on this Thursday night. 30-25 now. They're underway in the third quarter at USC. USC leading LSU in women's basketball. Wilson loving watching her game tonight. 15 points, 15 rebounds. She's looking at a 2020 kind of night. What a way to play out your last regular season home game. Pro, you checking out any of the other state scores?
No, but we will.
I think you should do that while we welcome in the money coach here to Sports Talk on this Thursday night. Fran Halloran, former high school football coach here in South Carolina, now a money coach, label says, a guy that can help anybody out with financial questions and things of that nature. And we're talking with him about the sports world and the money world because they conflict and they combine all the time. Before we get to your topic of the night, Coach, welcome in.
Yeah.
The lawsuit announced this afternoon by Dawn Staley against the AD at Missouri. Financially speaking, where do you think that might go? Will she ever see a dime of that money?
No, I don't think so. I think it's largely symbolic, as if to say, hey, you can't just say ridiculous things about anyone, but let alone someone of Dawn Staley's stature and reputation. I mean, anyone who's ever spent any time around Coach Staley knows that what was said was just absolutely ridiculous. So, no, I don't think she'll ever see a dime, but I don't think that's the purpose behind it.
Do you surmise any of whether there will be court costs or at least what it costs to file this or the lawyer time? Do you think any of that's coming directly out of Dawn's pocket, or do you think that's coming out of Carolina's pocket?
That's a great question, Will. By the way, good evening. I don't know. I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past Coach Staley to make a statement and to do so even if at her own cost, because she's a principled human being. We all know that.
Right.
And you just don't find people better than Coach Staley. So it wouldn't surprise me if she's footing the bill for this herself.
Yeah, she can afford it.
She can.
Maybe the U.S. Olympic Committee is footing the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Good point, bro. Good evening, bro.
Coach, your subject tonight, cost of attendance at colleges, an issue when it comes to recruiting in college sports in terms of what you pay a kid now, kids getting these stipends. It's not an even distribution around the country, around the conferences, across the board. Some can give more than others. Is that a recruiting advantage?
Well, Phil, I think it's going to become one, and I think it's going to become one rather quickly. I think we've actually opened up Pandora's box here. Now, don't get me wrong. I personally believe that the student athlete who is generating a tremendous amount of income for the universities should in some way, shape, or form share in some of those profits. Now, I also understand they get a great scholarship, they get room and board, but I think the income that is generated for the university is such these days that kids should be able to take part, if you will, in some of the profits. I would rather have seen them do something like a deferred payment plan where we're going to put some money away for you for your future. I think that would have been a better thing to do than paying young men to play a game in college, because I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to have some real issues. Most people, I'm not even sure, understand that most of Division I football and basketball players are now getting paid a stipend every single month during the school year. And it is meant to close the gap between the cost of a scholarship and the real cost of schools, attendance at schools. And, it was originally adopted by the Power Five, the SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and Pac-12. And now most D1 programs have adopted it. By the way, do you guys know who happens to pay the most stipend, the largest stipend? Anybody want to take a guess?
Alabama?
Nope.
Southern Cal?
Nope.
Michigan?
Nope.
Notre Dame?
Notre Dame pays one of the lowest.
Huh.
Tell us, Coach.
Yep. Yeah. Believe it or not, there are three: Cincinnati, Florida International, and Florida Atlantic.
Interesting. Is that a tax
thing? Interesting, isn't it?
Is that a tax thing?
It is all. Here's the thing about these cost of attendance stipends: they are all calculated by the schools themselves. The schools decide what their actual cost of attendance is.
No oversight.
Office does.
No oversight.
Well, Okay, that good question there, Will. There's supposed to be NCAA oversight in all things collegiate athletics, right? And you know that goes. Right? And that's part of the reason I think this is a problem down the road, because just think about it this way. If Danny is a star linebacker in mountains of Tennessee, and he's being recruited by the Vols, the Kentucky Wildcats, and let's say South Carolina to come play football, and all things are equal educationally, the schools are the same. They've got the major he wants. Mama likes all three schools. That's important these days. Starts looking at the stipends, and this is where we could get in some trouble down the road, because at UT, Danny's going to get $472 a month. At USC, he's going to get $350. At Kentucky, he's going to get $300.
Wow.
Danny might just decide to say, go Big Orange, because he's going to get a considerably larger chunk of pay every month at the University of Tennessee to play some football.
Have you heard of any case where a player has made his decision based on the stipend amount?
I have not. However, in my research, I ran across a lot of articles on the internet that talk about this very topic in some detail. And there are high school coaches out there who are readily admitting right here and right now that some of their kids have made decisions based on the stipend, all things being equal. Now, of course, if little old Danny, the linebacker, is getting recruited by Bama, Bama's paying, I think about $450. Surprisingly enough, I got it right here. Bama pays $465. So if he's getting recruited by Bama, chances are he's going to go to Bama over UT, USC, and UK. Just because Bama's a 5-time national champ. But the gist of it is, some of these schools are really, really going to have to be watched, because if the schools themselves make these decisions as to how much they can pay these players, what kind of Pandora's box have we really opened here with these stipends?
Well,
I think we're on. Go ahead.
Here's my issue, Coach, and that's what is the harm in allowing this to be outside of the jurisdiction of the schools and just allowing kids the ability to just make money off their likeness independently, like an independent company would, and have that be taxed in that regard?
Wow. Now you're really talking about opening Pandora's box, because now it's going to be coming down to who gets the most face time. What teams are going to be on national television the most? First one that comes to mind for me is my favorite team in college football, Notre Dame. They're on every single weekend on NBC.
Well, they have their own national network. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So if I'm thinking, hey, I'm a great defensive back, or I'm a great quarterback, I want to go somewhere where I'm going to get the most exposure. If we leave it to the individual, now we're really talking about major corruption possibilities down the road. It'll be like Barry Switzer back at Oklahoma back in the day in the Boz.
Well, it's interesting when you look at it. The guys who play quarterback, running back, those glamour positions, they seem to be the guy that's going to pull the most money. But when you look at it from a practical standpoint, who are the guys who are going to outgrow their wardrobes? It's the linemen. They come in with a bag full of clothes. Wait a minute, we got to put 50 pounds on you, and none of the clothes they brought with them now fit. They're the guys that need the money, the linemen.
You're right. You're right. It's the hogs and the studs, as I always like to call them, the big boys on the D-line, the big boys in the O-line. They're the ones who are going to outgrow those clothes the fastest. You're right.
Well,
so just something to think about, guys. I think we really ought to be careful about what's going on with these stipends. I don't begrudge the players getting a little bit. I really don't. I think they deserve something, but I really would have rather have seen a deferred payment plan where we're saying we're going to put this money away from you for furthering your education, or for down the road, you can have it when you're out in the world and in the business world.
Well, like almost every good idea that comes up in college athletics, it will get abused at some point in time. Hey, spit your number out there real quick if anybody wants to reach out to you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate the time this evening. If you're interested in doing business with us at Higgins & Halloran Financial, just give me a call, 888-779-2557. 888-779-2557.
Hey, Coach, thank you. We'll talk to you next week, and we'll be right back.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
All right, Asia Wilson continues to do her thing, 21-18. USC women still up by 10 over LSU late in the third quarter. And she has moved up on the all-time scoring lists at USC.
Behind Sheila Foster now. She is second all-time, just passing Shannon Johnson. She is at 22-31. Sheila is at 22-66. So she is 35 points away from being the all-time leading scorer in South Carolina women's basketball history.
All right, and Pro, what else you got on the scoreboard?
Yeah, in the Big South, this is the men. UNC Asheville, this is a big game in the Big South. Leading Winthrop at the half up in Asheville, 43-37. Elsewhere, it's Gardner-Webb over Presbyterian. This game being played up in Clinton, 33-15. Just starting Campbell and Charleston Southern. Let's see, in the CAA, make that the Atlantic Sun. It's USC Upstate trailing New Jersey Tech 44-42 in that contest. And in the CAA tonight, well, not in the CAA, but Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt. That game starts at 8 o'clock. They're in the Central Time Zone to take on Arkansas Little Rock.
That game when the Colonial with College of Charleston, Teddy Valentine doing that game.
Well, that's just great news.
Well, he was doing the Alabama. I think the Alabama game. No, he was doing Tennessee.
He had Clemson last night.
That's right. That's right. He was
last night.
He's everywhere.
Dude doesn't sleep.
Be sure to check out foundersfcu.com and learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. Speaking of Clemson, they go up to Virginia Tech last night, play a tough ball game, minus, of course, Shelton Mitchell, and he was indeed missed. The Tigers suffered 11 turnovers, and Virginia Tech took advantage of that, and that was one of the major differences in the game. Plus, the Tigers did not have, 11 three-pointers, but almost all of them coming from Marquise Reed, who had a career night with 28 points and 10 rebounds and 3 assists. After the ball game, Brad Brownell gives credit to Virginia Tech, but he laments the fact that they are playing shorthanded right now and getting very little off their bench.
Both teams defended well, made it hard on each other to score. I thought our kids competed again very well. We're struggling to score a little bit right now. Obviously, the missed free throws I thought were very telling in the second half. We got some opportunities. We couldn't end runs with missed 2, I think maybe 3 times in a row. And that you can't do that on the road against a good team. Thought they battled hard. Thought we battled hard, and they were just a little bit better than we were today. Didn't turn the ball over quite as much as we did, and made free throws, got fouled. Good competitive ACC game, but they were just a little better.
Brad,
Questions?
Did fatigue at all come in at some point, being you're already down a couple guys?
Maybe a little, yeah. I mean, we obviously didn't get much out of our bench today. Played some guys, and they couldn't make shots. And puts a lot of pressure on your older guys, which shouldn't have been that much. But Marquise was forced to do a lot, and some of that not having Shelton, you just that's what he does. But we needed more bench play. I mean, we can't play those guys. I can't see the minutes exactly. We had 3 guys almost play double-figure minutes, and didn't scratch, and that just puts too much pressure on your starters.
Did they do anything different with Gabe? I mean, we saw Duke obviously did some stuff.
No, I mean they just guarded him hard. Did a good job, and give them credit for that. And he didn't get a lot of great looks. He got a few, but didn't make them. Obviously missed some free throws. Just couldn't quite get it going.
What was it specifically about there?
I just think they're in good position. I think they play hard. They got fresh bodies. They're, obviously Buzz is playing some guys that are, Devin Wilson's a defensive guy. And credit him. He made 2 threes today. Chris Clark can really play both ends. And they're athletic. They're competitive. Those guys do a great job in prep. I mean, I think they're just doing good things.
You know about Reed, and he started off kind of slow, but then got going and really kept you guys in the game all night.
Yeah, he did. And, again, there's just probably has to do too much right now. There's a lot being asked of him. And, again, our other guys got to help him offensively to spread things out a little bit. We made a couple threes. Amir shot one in again. Scar shot one in. But again, just need a little bit more out of each of those guys to help.
All right, Brad Brownell after the Tigers lost, and the Tigers back in action on Saturday afternoon at home against Georgia Tech. All right, update a couple of things. The PGA Tour now moves to the East Coast, finally. We get closer and closer to Augusta, Honda Classic at Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And Alex Noren, Webb Simpson, tied for the lead at 4 under par. As far as some of the local guys, Lucas Glover has, Russell Henley, a 2 under 68. Lucas Glover, even par 70. Ben Martin had a 70 as well. William McGirt, +1. Scott Brown, +2. Wesley Bryan, struggling a bit. George is going to join us tomorrow night. He returns for birdies and bogeys. I imagine he might be down in Florida. Wesley struggled, though, a 5 over 75. Sam Saunders, the same thing, 5 over. Kevin Kisner, a bad day, 9 over 79 for him. Tiger Woods is back. He goes out and shoots an even par 70 today.
4 off the lead for Eldrick. Not bad for him.
Sergio Garcia, 2 over 72. Jim Furyk, a 2 over 72.
But how many waggles did Sergio have? Let's be honest.
Probably quite a bit.
A lot.
I don't count his waggles.
I do.
Some football news. Newberry officially announced today the hiring of Todd Varn as its new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. 3rd time he'll be working with Todd Knight in his coaching career. From Alabama, big shakeup on the coaching staff of Nick Saban. A lot of changes. He adds Dan Enos and Craig Kulikowski to the coaching staff. Enos will serve as associate head coach and quarterbacks coach. Kulikowski will be associate head coach and coach the defensive line. Also,
very good pedigree with that guy, Kulikowski. A lot of defensive linemen in the NFL with him.
Mike Loxley promoted to offensive coordinator. Tosh Lapoy promoted to defensive coordinator. They were co-coordinators last year. Pete Golding will coach inside linebackers and be the co-defensive coordinator. Josh Gaddis will be the co-offensive coordinator and work with the wide receivers. And Burton Burns is going off the field. He'll serve as the assistant AD for football, former Clemson running backs coach, longtime assistant at Alabama. So a lot of changes on that coaching staff at Alabama.
Loxley leaves because that replaces Brian Daboll, who, as you know, left to go take a position in the NFL as the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills.
And that's the feeling I get is where Alabama may find what they will have problematic going forward, and that is their coaching staff has become a revolving door every 12 months, it seems.
But there is one constant.
For now.
And that's Nick Saban.
but you can't
the best game planner in the business.
You can't use
Not
10
named
fingers
Belichick.
all the you have to have guys who and their quarterback situation. How can a quarterback develop when every year there's a different coordinator?
Story out of the
Tua will be just fine.
Out of the Charlotte Observer about the Panthers sale. Jerry Richardson, of course, has the team up for sale, and they're saying the team could go for between $2.3 billion and $2.8 billion, according to experts who've looked at the various issues around the sale of the team. Some of the names being mentioned as potential buyers include billionaires David Tepper, Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta, Ben Navarro, and a group that includes Charlotte businessman Felix Sabates.
Frank related to Tillman, the guy who owns the Houston Rockets?
I couldn't tell you.
Felix
He is,
Sabates
yes. He's under the same some of the same entity there.
Felix Sabates is the big car dealer in Charlotte.
All right, USC women up 44-30 going to the fourth quarter. And as far as Asia Wilson goes, she needs 3 more boards, make that 2 more boards to have a 20-20 night. She's got 21 points and 18 rebounds at this point.
Charleston 29, Elon 18 at the half.
That'll do it. Thank you, Brian Leonard. Great job. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.